All right, so let's start. Well, let's start with the DevNet, I guess, which is the most interesting part right now. Yeah, so there have been some issues. Who has the best insights to talk about this?
Well, I can talk about it a little bit. So basically, the DevNet was in three phases, right? The first phase was launching the chains separately. The second phase was the merge, and the third phase was the Chapella thingy. So launching them separately was no problem, right? Then after the merge, there was some issue with Aragon that Andrew already fixed, so it get through the merge. But then when Chapella was enabled, at least in gateways setup, like Aragon nodes got stuck with first known bad hash, and after restart, they just crash on the startup with the issue that Giacomo also posted, non-positive interval for new ticker. So we switched back our validators to uh, Nethermines on EL side just to make networks finalize. So it finalizes now. So, but basically all the ELs that are uh, working are Netherminds, and there are still at least some warning messages in the logs that I need to dig into a little bit more about, related to scene committees. I've seen that before on the testnets. Not sure how harmful that is, but yeah, needs to debug a little bit. So that's the gist of it. So
Yeah, I can talk a little bit more about the issues in Aragon. So it was definitely a good test. It revealed a few issues. We had the DOS protection from legacy from Geth that total difficulty can't be above a certain bit length, but for Gnosis we can have huge total difficulties. So that was on new block message that was fixed. Another issue is that we don't implement porous gas limit contract. So we were failing verification on gas limits. I removed as a hack. I removed the gas limit verification. Uh, then another issue is that we were calling the withdrawal contract for pre-Shanghai blocks, so which I fixed. And now the last issue, which is not fixed yet, is that for some reason, for Shanghai blocks, we call the withdrawal contract and it reverts. And apparently it's fine in Nethermind, so I need to investigate why it reverts. But I'm traveling today, so I will able to look at it tomorrow, maybe on Friday.
Thanks. Go ahead, Lukasz.
Yeah, one thing to mention, because we are talking about issues in Aragon, this kind of consensus issues that happen while need to be investigated thoroughly, because while I think it's more likely they are in Aragon now, sometimes there can be, for example, in Nevermind, and Aragon like not accepting something can also happen. So yeah, that's why this client diversity thing is so important, that we kind of validate each other. Just wanting to
Yeah, and do you mean like I think Marek told me that Aragon produced a bad block, an invalid block on Sepolia. So but because Nethermind doesn't dump bad blocks, I haven't been able to investigate it. But we will try to check the logs of the validator and see if we can find. I think we our team member runs that validator. I'll check with him. But I haven't. But that's probably a separate issue, and I don't know its root cause yet either.
Yeah, short update, Andrew, about these bad blocks on Sepolia. So you can check Beacon Chain Explorer, because it seems that Aragon is missing all the slots or most of them. So you can check it, but it doesn't look good for the at first
Yeah,
look.
it's interesting because I think it might be related to an outdated Aragon version, because I think on Girly, Aragon behaves fine. So, but I'll check what kind of what Aragon version we use for our Sequoia validators.
Cool.
Oh, and if you see a bad block produced on Girly, do let me know.
But do you have many validators on Girly? Because on
I think
Sepolia,
Peritosh runs. He also runs some Aragon nodes on Girly.
okay.
But I was under impression, but I need to double check whether I have them.
I know for sure that Pari is running Nethermind and Gav, but I'm not sure about Aragon, so you can check with.
Okay, I'll check with him.
He probably runs everything.
Yeah, I know that for the merge, he set up the infrastructure only for Nethermind and Gav for Girly, and perhaps it is possible that he stay with this setup. So
I don't know. I think like for Chapella, when we were in Austria, I saw at least in the repo there was Aragon on the EF side. So
cool.
but you can double check.
Yeah.
But on mainnet we didn't notice any bad block production on Aragon.
Yeah.
It was
But-
suboptimal a little bit, but like not the blocks are not as full as they could have been, but otherwise. It's
Yeah,
fine.
that is the same case with our occasional bad blocks. We notice it only on Sepolia and later on Gnosis, a few of them.
Which is fixed.
Which is fixed, yes, and released.
Awesome. So I guess the next steps are figuring out what's wrong with Aragon. And on Nethermind side, everything is checking along, right? There's no further issues.
Yes, but the cross-checking with Aragon, right, will potentially reveal some if something could be wrong on Nevermind. So we need to get those two in sync,
Consensus.
right? In consensus. And if we have consensus, then we are fine. And if we don't, then one of them is in wrong. There's more likely on the Aragon side. So there should be the investigation there.
I have a very, very dumb question. If the withdrawals work, then for the Genesis validators, where would they withdraw? Because it withdraws everything above 32 mGNO, right? At the current, like in a cycle. So where will these tokens go?
Maybe that is the case when you haven't specified your withdrawal address, and yeah, just wondering, what do you think, Igor?
But like, if you are a Genesis validator, how do you specify a withdrawal address? I'm not well. Yeah, I'm just like, because the configs we just did this configs and that's it. Is there a withdrawal address on this configs for for our validators or not?
So I guess it depends on the Genesis. So Genesis validator means that you insert something in the validator's array without a proper deposit. So whatever withdrawal address is there, that's where the funds will go. I think the default tooling sets everything to 0 or some random address, which is a BLS 1. So that will never be able to be changed.
Can we?
I'm not sure. I will have to take a look.
Can we check that these transactions are actually happening on the because right now Chapella enabled, I assume that every validator should have like not more than 32 MGNO, right? Ish, maybe a little bit more, but then
Well,
it's yeah.
It depends. Like if no one has like execution credentials, no one will be exiting.
Exactly. I remember that during Ruben was the one that was doing most of this testing on the Redmine side, but I remember that I was helping him out during the first DevNet that we did for Nethermind internally. And sometimes he configured like the execution address on Genesis, but sometimes he did it like after the network was running and after Chapella was already activated, right? So and there was no issues, right? So like Lion says, like the validators are in the Genesis with like you hard code them in the Genesis, but after that you can just change the execution address and it will start withdrawing because it doesn't validate that they were coming from the deposit contract in any way.
Okay. Can you point me to how to quickly do that? Because we're like sure, like the network finalizes right now, but let's check that the withdrawals, so the partial withdrawals, are definitely happening on this.
No, I cannot point you to that. I have no idea how to do it. Yeah, maybe Carlos in the call yet, but yeah. So, Ruben's here. I thought Ruben was not here.
Yeah, hey guys. So if you need help to check whether withdrawals happen or not, I will share the details on Telegram.
Yeah.
And I start talking. I got two questions. So I noticed that Leon is actively changing the contracts now. Like if we should take the new version, I noticed this wrapping our up and logic is gone. I need a bit more details. What's happened? And what has been changed to updated contracts on our end? That's the one question. And the second one, for now, I hard coded the failed withdrawals number to 4. I'm wondering what if different clients have different numbers for this? Will it cause an issue or not? And if it is, should we like make this a change spec parameter to make sure everyone on the same page? Is there any
that would
ideas
be
on
a
that?
consensus failure.
Yes.
So it has to be a spec parameter.
Yeah, cool.
I have one more question. How can we be sure that we trigger all testing path like testing withdrawals, etc.? Do we have any ways to verify it?
I guess you mean that on a testnet we test all the paths on the smart
Yes,
contract
yes,
specifically?
yes, exactly.
That's a good question. I guess we could use like coverage tooling from Solidity tooling with a set of actions and then recreate those actions in the DevNet.
That would be great, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing is when how do we simulate the failing withdrawals scenario, because this is partially on the EL side, partially on the smart contract.
Yeah, that is why I was pushing a bit for this Hive test, because they are good for such edge cases that are not common on DevNets. Łukasz?
By failing withdrawals, you mean the contract failing, or what's failing?
Yeah, let's say no money in the contract.
Okay, you can probably simulate that on the contract level, right?
Can we in this DevNet, or do we need to run another one?
You probably need to run some custom thing.
Like Hive tests.
Or run
Well, I
other
think it will not be
DevNets.
that difficult to generate since like everyone is a Genesis validator. The beacon chain claims that deposit exists, which does not. So if you just do not fund the contract, then the contract is insolvent. So say just deploying the contract and not giving it tokens, that will cause insolvency.
Okay, so have we funded the contract already? Because maybe that's the case right now, that we haven't funded the contract and withdrawals should be failing right now.
Yeah, could you share? So at the end, if I understand, the deployment of the contracts was done manually with Truffle?
No, it's automated, and I put 32 ethers there, just like in the truffle script. What I noticed is I'm not sure about the token contract API, but if we can say play around with its funds, and I noticed during our internal testing, if there are no funds, yeah, it emits withdrawal failed events. So yeah, the failure works like as expected. Maybe if we can like during the network right now, like play around with token contracts balance, like funding it and taking away the funds, it may like sometimes fail withdrawals. So this is, can we say, a kind of manual testing or manual intervention. But I'm not sure whether it's possible or not because I have to check the contract logic. Because as far as I recall, there you can set a meter there only once, right? And
Yeah,
that probably is
could
not
you-
possible. But I'm not sure. Like I have to check the code, but probably you know better there.
Could you post like a script or deploy sequence on the Gnosis Core Devs chat?
Sure.
So I wanted to say that the way that we did this testing during the merge, like whenever we wanted to like test different paths, like different branching of like MarXSS, different path, what we did was instead of deploying a new DevNet or messing up with the one that existed already, we did like kind of a quick shadow fork. We take 2-3 nodes, set up a shadow fork, and we shadow fork with a branch of Nethermind that has hard-coded a few changes. Like, for example, if you wanted to remove funds from this contract, you can just create a branch, take the address of the contract, and just at the beginning of block production, after at the block processing after a given block, you just remove all balance from that contract, and that's it. And you have your testing scenario in that shadow fork. And you can do that for basically most scenarios, unless they are like very deep into contract code. But in general, you can do that, and you can leverage what is already done on the DevNet without actually breaking it or having to deploy another one and do everything from scratch.
Yeah, one only disadvantage of this approach is that it won't be like automated testing for future. So
Oh yeah, of course. Hive is better, right? But
yeah,
I'm talking that in the absence of Hive for the merge, this is what we did.
I see.
Awesome. So yeah, just to talk really quick about the withdrawal contract. So we just got something out with Lion right before this call. So the idea for us was to kind of get rid of MGNO because it's kind of added complexity for depositing, for withdrawing, for it increases gas usage. It's a bit strange for our users as well. So the idea was to completely get rid of it, and then simply users would deposit one GNO, and the execution layer would still emit a log that is like 32 times that GNO, so that deposits work exactly the same way as before, except MGNO no longer exists, basically. Of course, you would still be able to unwrap existing MGNO, so there would be a public function for that. But for withdrawals and deposits, this layer will be completely removed. Yeah, and this is the version we're going with, and that is going to be audited. And we can test probably the upgrade on the DevNet as well. I'm not sure actually who's the admin on the contract.
You mean right now in this DevNet?
Yeah.
we have the key of the admin. I don't know. We have some address, so this probably could be specified in change spec. So say we are the admins because we have a key on Nethermind.
Right. Okay, well then in theory we can just upgrade the contracts, and then there's one function to call immediately, so in a multi-call or something if possible. But to do that, then we might have to transfer ownership to a contract for some time or whatever. But we can certainly do that in this current DevNet. Or alternatively, we just, I guess, fix everything that is to fix right now and spin up a new one, or test on Chiado. I'm not sure what the best option would be in this case. Yeah, Lion, what do you think? Should we test it in this DevNet, in a new one, on Chiado? What's your preference?
Yeah, I would have to check the setup for this one and see what we can do.
Okay, well, in the meantime, are there any other things to mention about the current DevNet? Okay, I guess not. So are there, in general, like other news from client teams, like for Nethermind, for example?
I think everything was covered on the DevNet update, so no
Yeah,
updates.
but I mean, except for DevNet.
Yeah,
in
maybe
general.
one update that some time ago we released bad block fix. Andrew noticed a few bad blocks produced on Gnosis networks, so it is already fixed, and that's it.
Awesome. On Aragon side, are there other news that are not regarding the DevNet?
No other updates, no.
Okay, and then I guess Guillaume is still working on it. Do you have
Yep.
any?
Yeah, I imported some blocks, but I have some issues with the freezer, so I'm looking into that, and hopefully that's the last hurdle.
All right. Do you have updates on Prism as well? I guess not.
Nope, not yet.
So I again have tested a few things, but I haven't gotten it to run. So yeah, no updates in general. On the gateway side, I guess on the RPC we're increasing it to 75%, right? That's tomorrow though.
Yeah. And also we are setting up the proper monitoring and testing the monitoring on the Chiado bridge. As soon as the monitoring will be done, we will deploy mainnet bridges. So for both, what's that called? Both the native bridge and the Omni bridge. But we need to make sure that our monitoring is working correctly for the bridge software. Yeah.
Or yeah. Is Max here? I don't think so.
No, he's on the same offsite with the Andrew. So.
Oh yeah, right. All right. Well, I guess that's mostly it then. Oh yeah, regarding the testnet. So last week we talked about getting it out next week. Do you still think it's realistic, or maybe not because of how the DevNet is going right now, or what do you think?
I would postpone until Aragon is ready.
Yeah, I would organize another DevNet next week, so that it should hopefully it should go smoother, because this one, yeah, it didn't go particularly well, unfortunately.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, well then I guess we'll wait for this DevNet to be stable. Well, which of course makes sense anyways. And we will refrain from setting up another new date then. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so this testnet is Shiado, right? So
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, and were the right contracts already deployed on Shiado?
No, not yet.
Yeah, because even if everything was stable right now, I think we need to first deploy the contracts, make sure everything is fine, and then schedule the hard fork, right?
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, deploying the contracts would, I think it's probably not that complicated, right? So we can do this very quickly.
And then if we have stable DevNet, would be great to at least manually check this contract paths of failing withdrawals, etc., as Jorge mentioned. Not sure how we can achieve that, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, who can do this kind of thing with, or would we do this just on the executionary side of things, or do like an actual withdrawal from the consensus layer to execution and all of that?
Yeah, we should try all paths. And so from the Solidity, again, we can use Sol coverage tooling to check what are the minimum number of actions that we can do to have good coverage, and then just trigger those actions whatever way we can in the testnet. Hopefully everything is doable. Hopefully.
But I mean, can we even trigger like a withdrawal without having a validator in a specific state?
So yeah, again, I will need to review how this specific Genesis was created, and then how the contract is deployed. But if every single validator has BLS credentials and we don't have the original key to change those credentials, then no withdrawal is possible.
Until you're an admin of the contract and you can just manually call the execute system withdrawals, right?
Oh, sure, yeah. But I guess we want to test the actual thing. Actual meaning beacon created withdrawals that end up being executed on the contract.
Oh, but we should have. Do you mean that the private keys for the validators on the Genesis? We should have that because we generate all of those from a mnemonic that we store, right? So we should have that.
Right.
All right, so Lion, I suppose you're going to kind of take this over regarding testing then?
Yeah, it sounds good.
All right. In this case, are there any other like updates or questions? If not, I guess we're done.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.